We were honoring the anniversary of our Guru's leaving from this world. So, which, it sounds, for those who aren't familiar with our tradition, it sounds funny. But it is, our Gurudev gave the example of the rising and setting of the sun. These great persons, we don't think that they've left. It is just like when the sun is setting, the sun's no longer before our vision, but it is not that the sun has disappeared or died or anything like that. So these, great divine persons, they are always living in the plane of consciousness, and those days so we can always connect to them in that sense. And those days which are connected with them in any way, they become blessed. Anything in connection with the great saint becomes purified and blessed. So even the time, the date of their appearance in this world and their departure from this world, that becomes purified by their presence. There's one beautiful prayer by Srimati Radharani where she's saying that, when Krishna came before me, then I was attacked by ecstasy. And because of the symptoms of ecstasy, I was so overwhelmed by the symptoms of ecstasy that I wasn't able to properly appreciate Krishna's beauty. And so she says, so if Krishna comes before me again, instead of worshiping Krishna, instead of giving attention to Krishna, I will worship time itself. I will take sandalwood paste and flowers, incense, and I will worship time and pray to time to stay for some time, so I can appreciate Krishna better. So everything, even the date, the time, it is like that there's a special blessing on these days, and if we can honor those days, then that blessing will come to us. Yes. Okay. Let's see who else is here. Also, Marco is here again, joining us from Italy. Hello, Marco. Great to have you with us again. And Ananga Krishna Prabhu, will you tell us something give us some news from Tijuana? Ananga Prabhu?
Dandavat, Vishakha.
Dandavat.
Ananda Rupa sent her Dandavat also.
Okay, my Dandavats to both of you.
News about Tijuana.
There's some news. Tell us about were you able to have a program on Saturday?
Yes, we did have a program on Saturday, and it was well assisted. We now open the doors like open. Before we had a list, you have to schedule your assistance, but now we just open it. And okay. even my mother went to the program. So
really,
yeah, it was well assisted. Then we can say then, like okay. There's even my mom was there. So yeah.
So we have an English expression: everybody and their mother was there. Then you really know everybody was there.
Yeah. Okay. And it was very nice program, and because this is maybe the first time since a lot of time not happening that Jaivalai Prabhu spoke. Because before we always ask him to speak something and he don't want, but now this time he did.
Okay, very nice.
So everyone was very happy, and yes, it was very nice. And Jagannath Swami Prabhu, they were the
Okay,
devotees
very
who mainly
nice. He
spoke. Yeah,
came also.
Prishni, Govinda, and their granddaughters also were there. So all the family were there.
Okay,
Yeah,
very
it was
nice.
very nice, very sweet, very sweet.
Well, will you share us something, just something about Gurudev? One thing that was discussed in the program, or that you're thinking about now? Anything, just one thing, anything.
uh, I don't know. You just got me. How
I
do you
put you
say
on
that
the
in English?
spot.
Yeah, yeah.
Something, so for someone like Stephanie who never met our Gurudev, something to give her some sense.
Okay. I don't know what to say actually, but we can say that mm, yeah, Srila Govinda Maharaj especially, we feel like, I mean, I'm not saying that our gurus, like for me, like Srila Janardhan Maharaj, Srila Ashram Maharaj, Srila Charya Maharaj, for me, I'm not saying that they're not sweet. They're very sweet, at least with me. And I can see that with everyone, right? But Srila Govinda Maharaj, I feel he how can you say that? Like that quality was like uh how do you say that? Like flowing constantly, and like for like with no limits, I can say. And I can say that because even my mom, actually now I can say that again, my mother went to the program, I feel, because when Gurudev went to Veracruz, I didn't went to the to his room where he was staying, right? He was staying in the house, and I was, sometimes they give me the activity to clean the house, but I didn't went to the room. But my mom was there, and she went in and she told me like how she felt there, being in the presence of Gurudev, and and she said the same. She said like he's very humble. Oh my, so Devi's here saying hello. And I can say that, especially like right now, I can say that Srila Govinda Maharaj opened that door. And I think you said that in last program that even the temple, his Samadhi Mandir was called, what is it called?
The Temple of Love and Affection.
Yeah, Temple of Love and Affection. And that's the main uh branch, you say, or the main thing that it's, I don't know how to express that in English, but
Quality of Gurudev.
yeah. And the, how do you say in English that, like the center of the preaching, or the mood in the mat, in Sri Chaitanya Saraswat mat, I can say, right? Especially that I can feel from devotees a lot of affection, and that's why I can say it's why I'm still here in the mission, because my mind can throw me everywhere, right? And my bad qualities can send me in any direction, but because devotees are very sweet, because Gurudev gave them that, right? I can stay here because they don't make me feel they make me feel a lot of affection. That's why I can say that. Especially for me, that's the thing that right now I can say like quick, and in my level of English, maybe. Yes. So I can feel that also in Vishakha. I can feel that in Chinmoy also, because I know them more than maybe another devotees here. But I can feel that every time I speak with them, or they talk to me, I feel the affection. And sometimes I don't get it why that much, but devotees are so sweet with me. And I think Gurudev gave us all that, right? It's like one of the gifts that he don't judge, right? He don't judge. And actually, I try to come here because I always hear you speak like that, like how Gurudev didn't criticize at all. He actually tolerate a lot of offenses that maybe someone can think of that action as an offense, but he didn't. He actually think very different, and then he gave all the affection to that person. So that person made something wrong to him, and then he gave him affection, and then he break that mood in that way, right? So I feel, and of course, he also, I feel one thing that gave to the to us, like in the Western world, where we don't have the Brahminic mood or tendency, right?
Yes.
He gave us that, like that part free of, how do you say? Yeah, he didn't take put in a first position the Brahminic tendencies. If right, like we hear a lot of times that even Gurudev took prasadam from one of his disciples with his hand and ate it, and right, and you say that he did it with the left hand or something like that, right? And then I heard also Janardhan Maharaj said that one he also grabbed from his plate, and then he said, like, now we're breaking the Brahminical right line, and then he put the food in other devotee who was very Brahminical. And this is one thing that for me is like a relief. Is that correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
It's a
Relief,
yeah.
because I have a lot of bad qualities, and if I say like, will you do the puja, and I said, oh, how can I do a puja? Like, I don't know. And I feel that is the main thing, that one of the main things that is related with affection, because he had a lot of affection to all the fallen souls, right? Like us, that he and I think he is the way of, is the gift. That's the gift. That's the main gift, Monday. Yeah, the main gift I feel is that one. So I don't know. Now I feel very embarrassed because I spoke.
No, thank you so much, Guru. Thank you so much. That was beautiful. Yeah.
Okay. So
yeah, that was, Gurudev had so many outstanding qualities, but that is the most predominant amongst them. That he himself was the embodiment of love and affection in terms of how he reciprocated with us, and also in his teachings. And not only was that the way that he like lived and expressed himself, but it was also like a core part of his teachings to us. And then I feel like, I mean, if sometimes persons like to identify what is like the special gift of this guru, what is the special gift of this guru. And I feel like if we're looking in terms of like modern history, like recent times, if we look at the contributions from our gurus in recent times, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Swami Maharaj Prabhupada, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Dev Goswami Maharaj. This is something about the Gurudev that he put a lot of emphasis on, which is that the importance of practicing with love and affection. It's something that that we heard Gurudev talk about many times, because once he explains that, because because the heart is so core to our existence. And so unless what we're doing is connected with the heart, it's not really sustainable. You know, there was one time, it was the last time Gurudev was in Govardhan, India, Govardhan, and 2008. And one day he commented, you know, sometimes Gurudev, he would speak about these three aspects of our existence: willing, you know, the willing faculty, the thinking faculty, and the feeling faculty. These are the three faculties of the soul. Actually, the soul is not able to do anything. You know, we can only do anything if the Lord, if the environment allows that, but we can only will for something. So willing, thinking, and feeling, these are the three capacities of the soul. And Gurudev would mention these sometimes. So on this one occasion, he commented, he was speaking a little cryptically. He said, thinking can fly, willing can fly, but feeling is steady. Feeling is stable. And he was speaking a little cryptically, and then I don't remember if it was Janardhan Maharaj or Goswami Maharaj, but one of the sannyasis in the room explained what Gurudev meant was that, you know, if our attachment to something is based on our thinking faculty, then that's not reliable. You know, if it's like attachment based on something intellectual or mental, then it's not stable. You know, it's not reliable. It can that attachment can leave, it can fly. And then the willing faculty, you know, the willing aspect to do something, if our attachment is based on that, on doing, on achieving things in a more physical sense, that's also not stable. That's also not reliable. But if our attachment is based on love, if our attachment is based on feeling, then that is something that is, you know, that will never be broken. You know, if the attachment is coming through the heart, you know, we can also think of that in terms of relationships, you know, what our relationships are based on, and seeing, you know, which relationships, you know, which ones, you know, we end up breaking off and which ones carry us through many years. It's the ones that are based on heart, on love, that cannot be broken, no matter, you know, no matter what challenges may be faced. If the relationship is based on genuine love and affection, then nothing can break it. So therefore Gurudev put a lot of emphasis on that in terms of how we reciprocated with our fellow God brothers and God sisters, in terms of how we practiced Krishna consciousness, that was very something he really put emphasis on. It had to be based on affection. You know, I mean, I'm saying it from this angle that it's something that will enable us to continue it, but it's also what Krishna consciousness is supposed to be about. You know, it's meant to be a natural expression of love. It's not meant to be like there's some external entity which, you know, we're trying to regulate ourselves according to, that we're trying to, you know, come under the authority of, or it's not like this. There, it's reality, the beautiful. It's not a scary, frightening, or distant reality that we have to submit to because this is the way things are and this is what we have to do. But it's something very beautiful and naturally attractive, which our heart, when it's healthy, should naturally run towards. So Gurudev was trying to inspire that natural mood within us, and sometimes Gurudev, for that reason, he didn't like to give direct instructions to people. I also had an experience like that with him, because he wanted to see that we ourselves had that inspiration and were coming forward. Like sometimes we heard from Lolita that sometimes when somebody asked Gurudev, like, what should I do about this? And Gurudev would tell them, you're a mature devotee in Krishna consciousness. You've had some experience. You try to understand. You decide what is the best way to to proceed. You have your own understanding. It's like, take responsibility yourself for your spiritual life. And there are so many examples of that. There was one also in that thread. There was one occasion where one senior devotee in the temple was stealing some resources in the temple, and our Gurudev, he found out about it, but he didn't say anything. I might have told this not so long ago, this story. And then that devotee found out that our Gurudev had found out about what he was doing, and so naturally he was feeling terrible, and he was feeling even more terrible because our Gurudev didn't say anything. We all go through those situations sometimes when you know that somebody knows something that you didn't want them to know, but they're not saying it. Then it's very awkward, very uncomfortable. So this devotee was feeling very uncomfortable, and then finally they went to Gurudev, and he said to Gurudev, "Oh, Gurudev, I heard that you found out about my fault. Please punish me. Please, chastise me. I've done this wrong." And Gurudev told him, "You are not a new devotee. You are an old devotee. If you were a new devotee, then I can understand you don't know what is right and what is wrong. But you are an old devotee, therefore you already know." So what can I tell you? Like Gurudev didn't want to just beat somebody up, or rather his objective wasn't to achieve a particular standard within the mission, but he wanted within the heart. That's what he was looking at. He wasn't looking at some like external achievement, or what like there was one really nice way. It was Gopeshwar Prabhu, actually. He expressed it. He was mentioning these two different approaches that in leadership. There are some who are they're performance based leaders. They're looking at how people are performing, and they're assessing their value, and they're assessing their value and their degree of achievement on the basis of their performance. That's one style of leadership. But with our Gurudev, that wasn't the case at all. It was the opposite. I mean, not that should be an excuse for us to be lazy, but rather with him, the emphasis was on looking at the inner heart and intention of the individual. And this was another thing about Gurudev, which is one of the things I appreciate the most, that he put so much emphasis on the individual, even sometimes at the expense of the collective. It was very, his way of dealing with us was very personal. And he was looking at, like what was the need of this particular person at this particular time. But one example, this is my favorite example nowadays. I've told it like 5 times over the weekend, but I'll tell it again. It is an example of how Gurudev wasn't looking at somebody's performance or external behavior or appearance, but he was looking at the consciousness. That I heard this from Jagadananda Prabhu. that there was a devotee who wanted to take second initiation. And normally for second initiation, you should be clean shaven. You'll shave your head, and definitely you won't have a beard. But there was this one devotee who had first initiation, and he asked Gurudev if he could have second initiation. But I believe he had a beard. Maybe it was long hair, but I think it was a beard. And so there were initiations happening that day, and so this devotee asked Gurudev, "Oh, can I take second initiation?" And Gurudev said, "Oh, but you have a beard. You should be clean shaven." And that devotee said, "Oh, well, no problem, Gurudev. I can go immediately and I can shave, no problem." And then our Gurudev said, "Oh, well, I see that you don't have any attachment to your beard. So therefore, don't worry, you don't have to shave." I just love that. I feel like it embodies Gurudev's style of presenting, of teaching Krishna consciousness. This is Paramahamsa Dharma. The focus is on looking at the inner essence rather than the outer appearance. And that was something Srila Sridhar Maharaj himself commented about our Gurudev. He is a natural Paramahamsa. Maybe for Stephanie, I'll just explain. Paramahamsa, literally it means, Hamsa means swan. Maybe you already heard this expression, I don't know. Okay. But Hamsa means swan, and Para means great. So Paramahamsa literally it means a great swan, and it is used to describe great devotees. The reason being that swans have this special ability. If you give them water and milk mixed together, they can just take out the milk and leave the water behind. So the idea being that the Paramahamsa Vaishnavas, the Paramahamsa devotees, they have this ability to look past the external, to discard the external, the superficial, and to extract the essence, to extract the spiritual essence, to see the spiritual essence in any given situation. And our Gurudev, he really embodied that. I mean, in that sense, he was pretty radical. So like he prioritized the exchange of love and serving with love over like scriptural rulings. That was his style. He emphasized the essential principles of spiritual life. The practice of sharanagati, surrender. Surrender, love, and affection, like these essential principles, and those are the things that he emphasized, over the formal practices. Of course, the problem with that is sometimes that can be taken to the other extreme. People can interpret us as being lazy bums, or we're not able to do it like we don't have like the muscle power that others have, or we're not up to standard. Some people take it, but Gurudev didn't appreciate that persons would take that as would take the fact that the emphasis is on love and affection. He didn't appreciate that we would take that as an excuse to be lazy bums. That definitely wasn't the idea. What it was really is that Gurudev was giving a more mature level of understanding of Krishna consciousness. And we have to be mature and understand the spirit, and take things as we're supposed to take them. like as an example, for those who take initiation, they're expected to follow the regulative principles. No meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit sex, no gambling. And so, like, as a comparison, Srila Swami Maharaj Prabhupada, the founder of ISKCON, this was something that he put a lot of emphasis on. I mean, like, really, even, like there are even some translations in some texts where he included that. It's not in the original Sanskrit or Bengali, but he included that in the translation. He put like a lot of emphasis on that. But then our Gurudev would barely mention it. And he pointed out that these are not actually Vaishnava principles. These are not devotional principles. These are human principles. If you want to be a decent human being, then you follow these things. But these are not things that will make you a devotee of Krishna. So therefore, he didn't put so much emphasis on them. And when he would give initiations, he wouldn't mention that. But then some people interpreted that as, oh, we don't have to follow that, and we can just do whatever we want, and when he heard that people were spreading this idea, he was unhappy, and he said, no, I'm not mentioning those things because they're like the ABCs, they're like very basic things, and I'm thinking they're hearing it from somebody else, but it doesn't mean that we're not supposed to follow those things. Anyway, but yes, love and affection. There's one famous story, probably everybody here knows already. It was with Trivikram Maharaj. There was one occasion when two of Gurudev's personal servitors, they got into a fight. and then Gurudev, he was out of the room and he came in, and then one of them ran away and the other one was there, and went to Gurudev like crying and our Gurudev told this person, you have to tolerate. And then that person's like crying, I'm tolerating so much. And our Gurudev told them, but you are tolerating by the book, you are tolerating by the law, and that has its limit. But you have to your toleration must be based on love. Your toleration must be based on affection, and that will last eternally. That will never break. Sometimes we see that, like I saw one devotee who gives regular classes. There's one person who regularly attends those classes who tends to interrupt a lot, or and make very irrelevant remarks, just to like kind of show like they have something to say, or get some attention, and I mean, I've experienced it with that person too, but because I go there not so often, and I'm like, I can just see it as like I can deal with it with a sense of humor. It wasn't a problem. It hasn't been a problem for me. But this regular speaker, like week after week, year after year, is tolerating this, and then on one occasion, maybe it was like 1 or 2 years ago, they just suddenly exploded, just stood up, shouted, and left the room. Because like every week they're biting their teeth, like, I'm going to tolerate this, I'm going to tolerate this. But then eventually you're just going to explode. It's not sustainable. So, maybe 10, 15 years, this person was tolerating this. And then finally one day, they just explode, So, our tolerance, it has to be based on love, affection, compassion, all of these things. And our practice also, even though our practice may sometimes be in austerity, if we see it as a medicine, that is there for our benefit. It's not like it's some external thing and we're railing against the system, and but this is something for us, for our benefit. We have to understand how this is, this is something that we need to take, like Gurudev's definition of sadhana, that which we don't want to do, we will happily do. And Gurudev also mentioned how when he first joins the mission, there was a lot of austerity, and on top of that, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, they were poor, like for breakfast they would have this mori, the puffed rice, crispy rice, and they might have a few drops of mustard oil on it. And Gurudev also mentioned how sometimes for sugar, that there was one homeopathic shop that if they had like these old sugar globules that they use for the remedies, that if they had like some stock of these homeopathic globules that were old, so they didn't want to use them, and they would donate that to the temple. and Gurudev said they would use that for sugar, like but that's how poor they were. They would barely buy anything. They would grow all their vegetables. They might buy a few special things for Srila Sridhar Maharaj. So it was really like they were, it was austere. There was one tree, I think it was a fig tree, maybe Chinmoy Prabhu will remember better. But the tree always had these what we would call fire ants, these like big red ants. If they bite you, then you'll swell up, like this, and so they didn't want to waste anything they were growing. So the brahmacharis, the devotees in the temple, they would take turns to climb that tree and to pick these fruits, So it was really it was austere and simple. And on top of that, Srila Sridhar Maharaj was very strict by nature, and Gurudev, very, in that sense, very different from Gurudev. I mean, Gurudev could be strict too, but in terms of how he dealt with the Westerners in a general sense, he was extremely lenient and extremely merciful. But Srila Sridhar Maharaj was very strict. Gurudev mentioned how Gurudev, he was 17 years old when he first joined the mission. And so, he described himself as an energetic young teenager. He used to play football with his friends in Nadangat, the village where he was living. And then all of a sudden he joins this ashram. He's living this, strict, regulated ashram life. And he was feeling the need to kind of like flex his muscles a little bit. And so he decided to start some exercise program. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj found out, and Srila Sridhar Maharaj told him, you can't do anything that is not connected with Krishna consciousness. And he said, instead of exercising, you can do some gardening. And so while you're gardening, you'll naturally get some exercise. But separately, you cannot do anything. That's how strict Srila Maharaj was. No, there were many things. Even Tirtha Maharaj told me this story, how Srila Maharaj, he would send somebody like to do like a spot check sometimes, like what's everybody doing? And so Tirtha Maharaj told me he was sitting in his room reading a book of Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, and Srila Maharaj sent somebody, his secretary, like to check what everyone's doing. So he reported Tirtha Maharaj, Prapana Krishna Brahmachari, he's reading this book, and Srila Maharaj sent back the instruction, why are you just sitting in your room and reading? Instead you have some service in the printing press. So while you're doing that service, proofreading and editing and whatnot, then in the course of that, you'll naturally read. But just to sit in your room and idly read for your own enjoyment, you can't do that. So, this is this is the level, we cannot live up to that kind of standard, that's how strict Srila Maharaj was. But the point I'm coming to make is Gurudev expressed that even though Srila Maharaj was strict like that, he said, I never felt that. I never felt like, I'm living a very difficult life, or, he's so hard on me, and et cetera, he's punishing me. He said, I never felt like that, because I felt like everything was Guru Maharaj's love and affection. This was coming from Guru Maharaj's love. And he also used this expression, this was the law. This was the main law of Chaitanya Saraswati, the law of love, so, accepting the instructions of my guru, as expressions of love and affection, that was how I took them. And that was how I happily lived my life in Chaitanya Saraswati. So, and another story I wanted to tell in this regard. Actually, this is about Divya Shakti. I don't think she's with us here today. No, she's not here. But she told me this story. How there was this one occasion when Divya Shakti, she has a very special position. She was Gurudev's personal collector. So, normally devotees, they would collect for their own communities, their own temples. But Divya Shakti, wherever she traveled, she would send that money directly to Gurudev, and Gurudev would use that for the projects in India, the service in India. So there was this one time, it was Gurudev's Vyasa Puja approaching. This is December. I don't remember the year. But it was an especially, it was going to be an especially big festival, because that year Gurudev was going to return to his birthplace for the first time in however many years, 30 years, or, he hadn't been back since when he first left as a teenager. So it was like a very big event. Gurudev. So there were a lot of devotees, extra devotees, who'd come from around the world. They wanted to participate in this. And so Divya Shakti was there, part of this group, and she's super happy. And Gurudev's Vyasa Puja is his appearance birthday festival is coming in a few days. The atmosphere is, incredible. And then so one morning she's sitting in front of Gurudev with some other devotees, and then Gurudev gets a phone call. And then he hung up, and he was disappointed, and he told the devotees there, they've just called me from Vrindavan, and they're in the middle of constructing this new guest house for the devotees, but they've had to stop because they've run out of funds. And so he was a little disappointed. And Divya Shakti's sitting right there, and and she, and you know, she's feeling like, oh, I'm Gurudev's personal collector. And he's just, you know, mentioned that you know, he needs some money. And so she's thinking, oh, you know, I should volunteer to try and to go and try and raise the funds. But then she's also thinking, well, I don't want to leave. I want to stay here with Gurudev. So she was going on, you know, this inner conflict was going on. And then finally she thought, no, I have to do my service. And so she told Gurudev, oh, Gurudev, would you like me to go and try to collect the extra funds that you need to finish this? And then and then Gurudev told her, he like revealed his process to her. He said, yes, this is the process. You know, not that I will tell you, but that you will come forward and you will express that you want to do this. You know, that this is the proper process. So I'm really happy because, you know, we like kind of saw like that was how Gurudev did things. Like in my own dealings with Gurudev, I felt that it seems like that, you know, like he was never pushing me to do anything, but he was like, it was kind of like you could, if you were really paying attention, you could understand this is what he wanted, and then he would be very happy if you did it. But he was hesitant, you know. Of course, with Gurudev's personal servitors, it's different story, right? But otherwise, in general, you know, he unless he was like fully confident and he had a very like close relationship with someone, he wanted to see that they were stepping forward to do this out of their own desire. So, you know, we could kind of see that was how Gurudev did things, but the fact that he like actually revealed that, you know, I'm very, very happy. You know, he kind of like revealed his strategy to Devi Shakti. And you know, this is really the essence of Krishna consciousness. And this is, you know, this is what is so, you know, this is one of the defining characteristics of who Krishna is, you know, that he attracts people simply based on his beauty and his love. You know, it's not, there's not the consciousness, you know, that, you know, this is God, you know, in that highest plane of Vrindavan, Krishna is not being served with the consciousness, oh, this is God, this is the Almighty One. We all must bow down to him and serve him and follow him and worship him. You know, that's like, that's Narayan worship, Vishnu, that's the, you know, Christian type of worship, you know, more general idea of the relationship with God. But in the relationship with Krishna, there's not consciousness that, oh, this is the supreme personality of Godhead. You know, we have to bow down to him and serve him. But it's rather, wow, this is such a beautiful and loving person. I want to do something for him. I want to dedicate myself to him. You know, so this is something very intrinsic, you know, something that represents the essence of I can say Krishna consciousness, but in a broader sense, I can say it is the highest expression of what can I say? The highest expression of religion, the highest expression of love, you know, service, worship, surrender, based on the natural attraction, the irresistible attraction of the heart. So this is like this is a mature, kind of like advanced understanding of what spiritual life is about. And that was, and that's something that Gurudev embodied himself in terms of how he you know, reciprocated with others. And it was also what he emphasized in his teachings to his followers. So, you know, Gurudev was, you know, Gurudev, and this is also part of Gurudev's charm. You know, he was giving the highest teachings, he was giving the highest conclusions, but he he was deceptive in how he presented himself. He presented himself in a very unassuming way. He liked to present himself in a simple way. He would hide himself in that way. Gurudev, he was actually an incredible scholar. He had hundreds, if not thousands, of verses, memorized by heart, and not just, it's not just about memory, but he could, when he wanted to, and if there was a necessity, he could give, very, very fine and very, very, very sophisticated explanations about Krishna consciousness. But that wasn't how he presented himself. Like when you think of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, one of the first things that you think of is how he was such a brilliant scholar, and how he presented Krishna consciousness was his explanations are just extraordinary. They're just brilliant. And that's one of the first things you'll think of. But with Gurudev, he had that same brilliance, he had that same profundity, he had that same level of sophistication, but he hid it. he rather, he hid it in this cloak of charm and simplicity and love. Like one very nice example of that is that occasion when, where was it? Was it in I can't remember now where it was. Was it Switzerland? I think it was Switzerland. Maybe somebody here. Chinmoy Prabhu's nodding his head. Yeah, Switzerland. He was invited as a speaker at this one. It was like a Ram Krishna center, and the guy who ran it, he was a big scholar, and he'd studied in different universities around the world, and he had all these PhDs, and this kind of guy, like very highly educated, intelligent, and so he was the host at this place, and so our Gurudev, he was the guest of honor, and so this guy, he as the host, he began the event, and he introduced our Gurudev, but he also introduced himself, and he went on for too long. He had all these he had all this brilliance and all these qualifications, but he's also a very arrogant person, and so he was like, pretty much boasting about his achievements. and he went on too long with that. And then finally he turns the the mic to our Gurudev and invited him to speak. And our Gurudev began in the opposite way. he he began saying, "Oh, I'm just a poor village boy." He would talk like that sometimes, like one time he said, "The village I'm from, it is so small that even today there's not a proper road to go there." Now it's different, but like even back in the 90s, you had to like bring your car to a certain point and then get out, so walk to the village, to get there. So he said that once, you can't even drive there. Like the village I'm from, it's so like remote and small. And so he began in this way, "I'm just a poor village boy. I was a naughty boy. I didn't even finish my education." He began like this, and which was characteristic of Gurudev. He would often speak of himself like that. And then he said, then he's saying, "I'm this and this and this. However, my Gurudev is so great, and I've learned some things from my Gurudev." And these are some of the things that I've learned. and then he started, in the course of his presentation, he began reciting many Sanskrit shlokas, And Bhakti Lalita was there, you know, right? We heard this from her. And so she said, like, these, like, you know, like long and complex, difficult Sanskrit shlokas, like one after another, after another, after another. And then meanwhile, as Gurudev is expressing all of this, then this man, you know, he's hearing this and he's starting to feel very embarrassed, you know, because he realized, you know, whatever I know and understand, he's like, he knows 100 times more, you know. But while I was, you know, boasting about my achievements, he presented himself in such a humble way. So he was really more and more embarrassed, and his shoulders, he was like hunching over and over and over as he's listening. You know, that was really Gurudev's style. You know, he was he hid that aspect of himself, and you know, this was actually, like, this is something Gurudev mentioned about Mahaprabhu, that he said Mahaprabhu was always on the battlefield, but with humility. And Gurudev actually, like, in his own dealings, Gurudev showed the power of humility, you know, like that he defeated that man through love and through humility, you know. Extraordinary. And you know, it's also very, this type of mood and approach, it's also very characteristic of the Vrindavan mood, the highest plane of truth and reality. You know, in Golden Volcano, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he describes the Vrindavan mood as a very nice expression. What is it? Power. There's something like power and knowledge dressed in humility, couched in love and affection. You know, like the superseding element is always based on love and beauty, not power, not knowledge, not control. You know, but actually beauty and love, they are the highest principle. They are the greatest controlling principles. And our Gurudev, he demonstrated that. You know? Here it is. Thank you, Chinmoy Guru. Power dressed in affection and love, couched in humility. That is Vrindavan. That is also Navadvip. Yes, it's such a, I love that. Power dressed in affection and love, couched in humility. No, that you know, that is the highest expression of truth, Krishna consciousness, and that was also our Gurudev. Sorry, Stephanie, I just see you have a question here. What about japa? Sorry, could you explain that? What do you mean by that? I lost the context.
Oh, that's okay. I brought that up when you were talking about the 4 principles of regulative principles, and I heard that Srila Prabhupada had said that chanting 16 rounds of japa is more important than following the regulative principles. And I was just wondering what instructions your Gurudev gave about japa and mood, and any thoughts about that?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, what you've said, that's certainly in line with what I've understood from my group. You know, why? Because chanting is on the positive side. You know, there's positive direction, and then there's you know, regulation of the negative. You know, so just regulation of the negative, it can stop you from going down, but it's not going to help you go anywhere, right? But chanting is based on a positive and progressive trajectory. So yes, for sure. You know, always in Krishna consciousness, the emphasis is more on what's the word? The emphasis is more on developing a higher taste. This is one way it's been expressed. Rather than just trying to negate the negative side, the negative taste or whatever. The emphasis is more on cultivating a higher taste. And then through that, the lower will naturally be overridden by that. And this is something that distinguishes the practice of bhakti with other paths in the Veda, because the Vedas are prescribing many different things, and they prescribe many different concepts and practices, and they all have their place. But in the practice, this is one thing that distinguishes bhakti from many other paths, that it is based more on movement towards something higher and something positive and superior, rather than just trying to negate something lower. So yes, one way our Gurudev put it was that we shouldn't try to artificially give up our material attachments, in a pushing way, was what he said, but rather, through the practices of Shravan and Kirtan, hearing and chanting, then naturally the heart will be purified, and naturally, we will overcome, these lower things. Does that answer your question, or
yes, that was a beautiful answer. Thank you so much. Also, another part of my question is Gurudev's instructions on chanting japa, what kind of mood or any kind of advice for practitioners who maybe are struggling, or just any kind of advice that he spoke on that.
Excuse me. Well, one thing to consider is that we consider the name to be non-different from Krishna. So we want to think of the name as a person. It's not like this is a mantra that we're chanting to help us make advancements, but Krishna is actually a person, and he is non-different from his name. He is fully present in his name also. So we're actually, when we're chanting, it's like we're actually calling to a person. That's the type of spirit with which we want to chant. Like one way Srila Swami Maharaj Prabhupada described it was like a child's calling for their mother, like with that type of earnestness, and we're praying. We also have to consider that with our material faculties, material tongue, material mind, etc., we are not able to approach that name, but rather the name, if he so chooses, may descend and reveal himself to us. So it's not, in other words, it's not down to us. There's an important verse in this regard by Rupa Goswami, one of the great teachers in our line. Atashi Krishna namadi nabhaved grajaminjai sevan mukhe jivada swayam eva sporchada. I think we were discussing this a few weeks. Varun, I think, brought this topic up a few weeks ago. So this is very important, very kind of core instructions are in this verse, and it's saying that everything about Krishna is super mundane. It is beyond the mundane. It is beyond the reach of our, literally what it says, it's beyond the reach of our indriya. Indriya means our senses. It is beyond the jurisdiction of our senses. So with our In other words, with our material tongue, we cannot chant the spiritual name. With these material eyes, we cannot see the spiritual form of Krishna, nor with our material mental system can we conceive of Krishna. However, Sevan Mukhe hi jivadao swayameva spurt. However, through the spirit of dedication, through the spirit of service, by that mood, then that name, that form, they may be pleased to descend and reveal themselves to us within our realm. So essentially, the process, the movement will always be the movement will always be up to down, not down to up. It's a descending process. This is another distinguishing part of the practice, distinguishing element in the practice of bhakti, that it's a descending. It's not about self-ascension, which many other Vedic paths are based on. It's not about self-ascension, but it is about a descending current, a descending spiritual current, coming and touching us and moving us and giving us some touch of that highest reality. And when we were discussing this a few weeks ago, we also mentioned one song of Bhakti Vinod Thakur. How does it go? Hridaya hoite bale, jivar grete chole, shabda rupe nacha anukan. Where in this song of Bhakti Vinod Thakur, he describes the real process in chanting the real name. First we'll receive that name, first we'll hear that name from the pure saint, and then that pure vibration, it will live within the plane of our heart, our consciousness. And until the environment is favorable, until our heart is properly situated, then that name, that pure vibration will remain in a dormant state within us. And then when the environment is favorable, then that name will dance upon our tongue from the heart, forcefully, beyond our own control, beyond our own endeavor. Forcefully, the name will go from the heart to the tongue and reveal itself within the plane of sound, dancing upon our tongue. Shabda rupe nache anukam. So this is a fundamental understanding that's required in our chanting, that by our own endeavor we cannot chant. We are rather praying to that name to reveal himself to us. So then you can also ask, well, what's the point then in chanting at all? If we can't chant, And that is that we are showing our sincerity. And by our endeavor, to chant, we're showing our sincerity. We're showing the name. We're really serious about this. It's not that we can chant the name properly, but we're calling to the name to please come and reveal yourself to us. And Gurudev, he pointed out in one occasion when he was discussing this point that Krishna, it's not that he's unsympathetic. He's not a heartless person. If he sees that we're trying, if he sees that we are struggling, if he sees that, he's trying and trying, but he can't get it, he will naturally be merciful, and he will be moved to descend and to reveal himself to us. These are the two magic ingredients in Krishna consciousness: our own effort, our own endeavor, our own sincerity, and Krishna's mercy. Because there are other practices which are just based upon our own endeavor. But in Krishna consciousness, you have to have the other element, the other ingredient of Krishna's mercy also. So when those two come together, then the magic takes place. So, when we're practicing whatever it is, chanting or, doing puja, worship, making offerings, whatever it may be, we're not thinking that we're actually able to do these things, because everything about us is on the material platform. We cannot do anything in connection with that spiritual platform. But what we're doing is we're showing our sincerity. We're calling out to the Lord, to our gurus, to the Vaishnavas, please look at me here trying. Like, I'm here dancing and trying to get your attention. I'm showing my earnestness here. It's not that I can actually do these things, but I'm showing you, that I'm in desperate need of your grace, of your attention. There's this story of Krishna's mother Jashoda. Krishna, he likes to present himself as a naughty boy, and so one of the things he's known for is as being a butter thief, right? And so on one occasion he'd broken some pots of butter and stolen the butter and shared it with the monkeys, and et cetera, et cetera. So his mother Jashoda, she was of course angry, and she had to discipline her son. And so she chased after him, she caught him, and then she was going to tie him up. And she had some rope. But mystically, no matter how much rope she brought, it's mentioned that the rope was always the width of 2 fingers too short. And she's pulling more and more rope, but still it's always 2 fingers too short. And she's, she's becoming exhausted, and her hair is coming out, her makeup is smearing, she's sweating, she's heaving, she's at the point of complete exhaustion. And she's doing this, this is like a part of her loving relationship with Krishna. It's not, this is her duty to her son, that she has to discipline. She has to give him some time out, She's tying him to this mortar. And, so what I'm saying is it's an expression of pure love. So anyway, then she gets to this point of complete exhaustion. And then when Krishna sees that, like she's given her max, then he allows her to tie him. Then he allows the rope, to be sufficient. So there's one commentary by one of our gurus where he explains what these 2 fingers mean. That one finger represents her own endeavor, her own sincerity, and her own effort, and the other finger represents Krishna's mercy and Krishna's grace, and his desire to reciprocate with her. So also, in everything that we're trying to give it our all, and we're praying, that Krishna he will give his grace, when and if he wants. It is like love. Love is not bound by any law. It's not that there's a particular formula, that guarantees. So it is like that, we wait and we hope and we try, Virachaya mayi dandam dina bandhu dayamva gatiri hanaba vata kachid anyamamasti nipatatu shatukotir. Forgetting the last part. Stuyate chata kena. Very beautiful verse by Rupa Goswami describing the chatak bird. And the chatak bird is a bird that is said to live only on fresh rainwater. And this bird will never take any water from the ground. It will only take the fresh water that comes from the sky. And also this verse concludes saying that this bird is always singing the glories of the rain cloud. Sometimes the rain cloud is not giving any rain at all. Sometimes the rain cloud is giving too much rain and storm, but and sometimes it is giving, joy, gentle, pleasant rain. But nevertheless, whatever the circumstances are, this chatak bird by nature never deviates from this mood of dependency and love for the rain cloud. He's always glorifying that rain cloud and always waiting for that rain to come. And no matter if it comes or not, the bird will never take anything from the ground. So this is a beautiful analogy given for the mood of surrender of a devotee, that they're always hopeful and expectant to receive Krishna's mercy. But if it doesn't come, he will not move from his position of dependence and love and surrender. No. It is the nature of true love, we can say. Unconditional love. So yes, in regards to chanting, yes, we're trying to chant with this mood of calling upon Krishna, praying that he will descend, reveal himself to us. The mood of dedication is also very important, that, not that, we want to offer ourselves to that name. Not that we want to take that name and use it for our own purpose, but rather we want to be used by that higher purpose. We want to be used, we want to be instruments of the higher will. We don't want to take that higher wealth and use it for our own gain in this lower plane. That is another mood. So, we want to serve that name. In our approach, this is important in our approach towards divinity. We have to demonstrate that we are approaching in the interest of contributing to that higher plane. Like our gurus give the analogy of a passport versus a visa. That if you want to go to another country, just having a passport is not enough. You need a visa. So in other words, just realizing our nature as spirit souls, that's not enough. If we want to go to a higher spiritual realm, we have to get a visa to go there. And what is a visa based on? A visa is based on the premise that you are going to contribute something in the interest of that country. You're not going there to exploit that country for your own individual purpose, but you're going in the interest of that other place and to contribute to that other country. So it is the same if when we are approaching divinity. We have to. This is like another foundational understanding, that we are approaching the name for the interest of the name. We want to give ourselves to the name for the purpose of the name. And to be open. This is another point which our gurus have mentioned. When we are chanting, we want to be, because and going back to the initial point about following the regulative principles, etc. Actually, if we allow the name will move us. The name will take us away from these other things. And so they've how can I say? They've advised us, to give up a mood of resistance. and to be, because, you know, it takes courage to practice spiritual life, a great deal of courageousness and broad-mindedness, because we kind of like, we like cage ourselves in with our limited ideas about things, about ourselves, about the world, about spirituality. We have, we have, whether we're aware of it or not, to one degree or another, we all are limited by the finite, limited ideas about these things. And they hold us back, they restrict us. So the name, if we're connected to a real vibration, if we've received a pure vibration of the name in the proper line, then it will naturally, the name is alive. The name has his own will and desire and wants to help us. He wants to help us. So he'll try to pull it. The name will try to take us where he wants to take us. And so we have to cooperate. We have to be willing to let go of our attachments and also prejudices and limited ideas about things. So to be open to where the name wants to take us, you know, that's also important, to have that open heart and courage. And then another thing is our Gurudev, this was something that he put a lot of emphasis on, the principles of humility, tolerance, and respect. Especially when we're dealing with, we should be like that with everyone, of course, but especially with devotees of Krishna, because Krishna, when we're approaching Krishna, we're not only approaching him. Krishna means a family. So, and Krishna is actually more interested about his family than himself. So it's also important that we are dealing with others, especially devotees of Krishna, with the proper mood. You know, otherwise we will, you know, we will invite, you know, Krishna will not, he will not be happy with us if we are, you know, if we are showing so much supposed love for him, but we are treating his family members and his devotees badly, then he will not be inspired to bestow his grace upon us. So it's important that we deal with others with this, try to cultivate this mood of humility, tolerance, respect, affection. We try to reciprocate with others in that mood, and that way we will invite the mercy and affection of others, and also from the Lord. And these qualities, they're also practicing these qualities. They're a kind of, I think of it as a kind of heart exercise, you know, because we have all these walls of ego, and when we try to put these principles into practice, then naturally these walls, they have to, if we're really practicing, we're really implementing them, then these walls, they have to start breaking. So I think of these principles, practicing them as a kind of heart exercise. You know, they help to open our heart, to break down these you know, this crust and layers of ego which are encrusting our hearts. So that you know, those principles are another important element in chanting the name. Trinada pisunichena choriva sahishana amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. You know, one who can be more humble than a blade of grass, tolerant as a tree, and give honor to others without expecting honor for ourselves. You know, such a person is such a person may always take the holy name of Krishna. Actually, this verse is one of 8 verses. We're going on late here. I'll just finish with this. This verse, it is. There are 8. We can discuss this another time, and you can also ask one of the devotees there, Braja Mohini or Divya Shakti. There are these 8 verses known as the Shikshashtakam, literally means 8 instructions. And they're practically the only direct instructions that were given by Lord Chaitanya himself. And they are all centered around the chanting of the name. And this verse, which I just mentioned about humility, etc., this is one of those 8 verses. So you may want to take a look. It's not long, it's just 8 verses, and they're not very long. It'll just take you a few minutes to read it. You might want to take a look at that. Yeah, well, maybe I'll finish up there. I don't want to keep you all too long. A few other.
We're happy that you're here with us.
So, sorry, what did you say, Prabhu?
We're happy that you're here with us. Time is of no consequence.
Okay. Thank you. I was just reflecting yesterday. I've become one of those annoying people who just can't stop talking. I had a call from somebody in America, and I just started going on and on and on, and she about Gurudev, and then she was like, oh, I've got to go. I've got another call, and I was like, oh my God, what happened to me?
This is a quality of a good preacher.
I never used to be like that.
When the katha starts to flow, there's no end to it.
Thank you so much, Vishakha Didi. It's very beautiful, very nice.
I also take it as a good sign that your inspiration is increasing, and we're all very happy about it. I'm sure everyone here is very happy.
Gurudev is trying to bless us. Yesterday, I was talking to some Indian gentleman over hours. He was telling, so I I tried to give him something and didn't realize time went over hour. He told me, oh, I have to go.
Jai Ramananda Prabhu, happy to have you with us.
Dando was happy to be
here. And also Suvasini Didi joined us. Jayadev is also here. Dhanavad. And I saw Chintamani also. Maybe she's this number here, but I saw her name come up as well. So she was here.
She's on the road, so she might be on and off. Okay.
And also Jadu Gopal Prabhu is with us again this week. Dhanavad, Jadu Gopal Prabhu. Okay, well, really wonderful.
Dhanavad, Vishakha Didi. I'm here with my friend Mara.
You're with your friend Mora, did you say?
Mara, she's here. Hello.
Okay, hi Mara. Thanks for joining us. Where are you driving? Whereabouts are you? You're in California, right?
We're going to the beach.
Okay, cool. Now we have spring weather, which is really nice. But in California, you pretty much always have good weather. Okay, well, does anyone want to add anything? So Vasani Didi, do you want to share something there? Were you able to have a program on Saturday for Gurudev?
Yes, we had a small program because it's still we have restrictions. You can travel only within the county. So.
Oh, really? Gosh.
Yeah. So we have Pranashis and Haripriya were there, so they are, within that county. So we had.
Okay, nice.
Yeah,
nice.
That was good. Yeah. At least something we had, a couple of days.
Please share one thing with us about Gurudev. Anything that you discussed on Saturday.
Well, whatever I would think, probably you have told pretty much whatever I know. It's the greatest quality, is Gurudev's affection for all of us. It's makes us feel very special, actually, and like you're wanted, you're special, and all are very nothing we have, personally, no qualification, but he feels like, you're included, you are there, that way. So feeling that very wonderful, have that affection is that is the one of the important main qualities which strikes everybody's heart with that, that quality. And overlooking everything else, not being critical, or like gives time, like as you said, gives time to develop ourselves. It is not like immediately putting some, correcting, give some corrections, but giving some time for us to correct ourselves, to see ourselves, and that way. But it's love is like accommodating, like love conquers everything, accommodating everything. So that is all I can think.
Sorry, what was that last thing that you said?
Accommodating. Love is love. Yeah, love accommodates, right? So I remember one time Gurudev, when he was in London, he said, just she was sitting about reflecting about one devotee who never spoke a word of English, and he said, I don't speak any word of Spanish, but we have that loving heart connection. He's very happy with this company, with my company, like that. And at that time he just casually said, I love everyone, and he said like that. So that was wonderful to hear. So, he spoke very beautifully about his wonderful qualities, and very nice to hear, remembering that. It is very beautiful, so nice. So thank you, Devi.
So Vasani Didi, she's very unassuming, but she actually had a lot of very special mercy from our Gurudev. Our Gurudev treated her like a daughter, and he gave her very special mercy and attention.
This grace upon all of us, it's other, without that we can't do anything. It's just depending on that.
One of the things that I really like what you said about how Gurudev, he made, and this was another very special thing about it, how he managed to he was able to make everybody feel, like you said, like they were part of things, like like even he didn't necessarily have to say anything, but the way that he would look at you, it was so personal, and he really made you feel like like you were a valuable member of this group. I really appreciate that point. It really was like that was part of his magic. He made everybody feel like they were somebody important to him. And another thing about that is that he didn't just like say that and behave like that, but it was actually true, and it's something that I cannot. I mean, it's something I meditate on sometimes. I cannot actually I cannot understand it. Like someone of his level, of his stature and his caliber, like the kind of love. And not only love, but like sometimes, like a kind of dependency he might even show on people like us, it's not actually understandable, like I'll just give one example of one devotee. I won't go into details, but someone who was, they did a lot for Gurudev and for a mission, and they were also a bit of a troublemaker within the mission. This person was a bit of a difficult person, and there was one occasion when this person was visiting. We were in Calcutta with Gurudev, and this person was visiting for a short time, and I remember their mood. This person was in a kind of a bitter mood, and he complained to me about something, and his mood wasn't you know, he wasn't in such a good place, you know. But at the same time, he had a lot of love for Gurudev, and he really was making an important contribution to the mission. And what astonished me was seeing how much love Gurudev had for him. And you know, there was this one occasion when there was like some he like had to make some decision about whether he was going to go right away or he was going to stay a little bit longer, this person. And he ended up deciding to stay a little longer, maybe because Gurudev convinced him or asked him or something. But anyway, there was this one moment when the question came up, oh, is he going to stay or is he going to go? And then Gurudev, he said in this very exaggerated way, like, you know, this was something about Gurudev's potency. He was so expressive, you know, his movements and his facial expressions, they were so powerful and so expressive. And so Gurudev, in this very like kind of exaggerated movement and this huge beaming face, he said, he will stay here with me, you know. And I was completely blown away, you know. Like this was someone who you know, they weren't like, if I had to say someone who Gurudev would be so happy with or loves, I wouldn't choose them, you know, based on what I'd seen of their mood and activity. But Gurudev was just like feeling this deep mood of love and appreciation for him, you know, to the point where for me it was really, really astonishing. And I saw that on other occasions too, like this actually Gurudev, this was something Gurudev shared once. Yudamanyu told me Gurudev told him this several times privately. I like people who struggle. I'm attracted to people who struggle in spiritual life, you know. And if we think of Gurudev as the embodiment of mercy, this is the nature of mercy. Mercy is naturally attracted to the most needy, you know. So this was something about Gurudev's nature. But I saw on several occasions also, like, you know, persons who were really, you know, struggling or really going through something very difficult, or you know, or persons who were very dysfunctional in some way, like what kind of attention Gurudev, like personal attention, like it would be something Gurudev was thinking about, you know. I mean, like it was, you know, one time he a few times, at least 2 times I can think of, Gurudev came to give a talk to the devotees, like an informal family talk, and he said, I've been thinking about this for 3 days. How can I present this subject matter? You know, he had some particular message he wanted to give, and he was thinking about it for several days beforehand. How can I present this, you know? That's on a collective level, but also on an individual level, I saw several cases, you know, somebody struggling with drugs, you know, somebody who was just behaving in a very dysfunctional and troublesome way, you know, these kinds of situations, and what kind of like concern Gurudev had for them, you know, discussing it with others, thinking about it for days, you know, like this was the kind of like personal attention and care and love he had for everyone. It is an extraordinary thing. It is really extraordinary. We're so fortunate, you know, we came somehow within the vicinity to such a great soul. Okay, well, maybe we'll stop there. Narayani has just joined us. Dandavats, Narayani. She's also someone who received a lot of mercy from our Gurudev.
Hi, Dandavats.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank
Okay,
you.
well, Well, maybe we'll stop there. Chinmoy Prabhu, any closing words?
Yes, Jai Vishakha Devi Dasi ki Jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai.
Jai. All the assembled devotees and sincere seekers ki Jai. Jai Chinmoy Prabhu ki Jai. Savasani Devi ki Jai.
Yeah.
Shri Hari Nam Sankirtan ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande.
Hari Bo.